Hey everybody, this is the 11th call of the Amazon Investor Coalition. This is a weekly series. We record these calls and are editing them for rebroadcast as a podcast. Again, this is a project of the Global Governance Philanthropy Network and serves as a partnership platform for the UN 75 Global Governance Forum. We have a couple of presenters today to, maybe we can just go ahead and say ourselves and the organization that we work with, just so we get a sense of who's on the call. I'll call people out. Marita Kokwesser.
Yes, I'm here on behalf of the University of São Paulo and also of Earth 3000 in Germany.
Great, thanks. Matt Lurie.
Hi, everybody. I work for the Milken Institute Center for Strategic Philanthropy.
Hi.
Great. Hey, Alex, we'll come to you in a minute. Sarah DuPont.
Hi, I'm Sarah DuPont, the founder of Amazon Aid Foundation.
Great. Nianta.
Hi, Nianta Spellman, Rainforest Partnership, working in Ecuador and Peru and then globally in other aspects.
Lars Levold.
Yeah, so I am Lars Levold from Rainforest Foundation Norway.
Alexander Rose.
Hi, Alexander Rose, GIZ in Brazil, private sector engagement.
Great, Alfie.
Alfie Rustam, Defend Nature Interactive, using media, gaming, superheroes to
Great.
connect with nature.
Danielle Rappaport.
Hi, everyone. I'm Director of Science, Innovation, and Impact at Rainforest Connection.
Derek.
Hi, everybody. Derek Gallo. I'm part of OE Superfoods, Marajo Island.
Marina Campos.
Hi, my name is Marina Campos, also known as Maite. I'm the Executive Director of Connexus USA.
V. Fasca. Sorry, I forgot your first name.
Hello, I'm Vivian. I'm Director of Greenpeace Brazil.
Great. David Bain.
David Bain, Head of Standards for TIA, the Telecom Industry Association affiliated with the Tree ID project.
Great, thanks so much. Dave Martin.
Hi everyone, Dave Martin here with MangaBay. I'm Director of Partnerships.
Great. Guilherme C. ...
Hello, I'm Guilherme. I'm from O Mundo Que Queremos, from Brazil. I'm a campaigner.
Great. Alexandre, we'll come to you in a second. Daniel Brindis.
Hola, Daniel Brindis from Greenpeace USA, Forest Campaign Director.
Great. We have a lot more folks. Some have joined last minute. If you would like to introduce yourselves, please post your information. Just in the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and move forward with the program, but we've got a very interesting group of people with us. And so we're going to hear from Renata Piazon from Instituto Arapiaú. And there are a number, beyond presenting the organization itself, she's also going to present a couple of the initiatives that they're working on. Renata, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you so much, Jonah. Such an amazing group. Thank you for this opportunity. I think I want to share just 3 slides. Can I do that?
Yes, go for it.
So just as an introduction, I'm the head of the climate program of Instituto Arapiaú. Instituto Arapiaú is the family philanthropic foundation of Guilherme Leal, one of the founders of Natura. And what we want as a vision is a more just and sustainable society that reconciles socioeconomic development and environmental conservation. We work through 3 main strategies. The first one is command and control. We are one of the major funders of Mapiomas, and we are very proud of this project and of where the project is going. The second strategy is forest economy and bioeconomy. This is the newest one. We did some seed investments this year in Amazon 4.0 with Carlos Nobre and Ismael Nobre. PAC Challenge, a project that was brought by the Minister Joaquim Levy about regeneration in large scale in the Atlantic forest. And also Instituto Escolhas, that I think you also know well, a think tank in Brazil that publishes lots of studies regarding bioeconomy this year. And the third strategy is advocacy and knowledge production. This is the strategy we're increasing more and more. Our biggest supports is the Brazilian Coalition on Climate, Forest and Agriculture, that we think is the biggest network today in Brazil that tries to bring a common agenda between environmentalists and the agribusiness, which is really challenging considering all the political context. We also supported last year the Possible Amazon Initiative. I don't know if you saw, but we recently launched the 10 principles for the sustainable development of the Amazon for the companies. And last year, this initiative was initiated in UNGA, in the United Nations Climate Summit in New York, as an invitation for business to get more involved and to be more protagonists in the sustainable development of the country. And the new initiative that we are articulating, and I don't know if you saw in the news last week, is Amazon Concertation, or Concertação pela Amazônia. I want to just share, this is now the main, we are doing the executive secretary of Amazon Concertation. Everything started last year in the Possible Amazon and this invitation for business to get more involved. But what we want is to build this institutional movement that becomes perennial for the implementation of this agenda, that we really think it's an agenda for the country and not only for the Amazon. It needs to be an agenda for the state. These are our fundamental pillars. So it's really looking for development. What is development that we want in the Amazon, considering the complex context of the Amazon, and that there's no one single Amazon, and we know that. So we are trying to study and to see what we want for the future. The second one, and the most important one, is to push the mainstream business to get more involved and to be one of the main protagonists for the sustainable development of the region. The third one is institutional, so how to build capacity building to strengthen state and non-state public institutions. And then the fourth is governance. So we are talking with the Amazon Council and also the state of governors of the Amazon board that was also formed, to see how we can better support them and build together strong agendas that can become perennial for the development of the region. And always looking for the context in the Amazon, but also how the Amazon relates to the country and the Amazon relating to the world. So also engaging the international community. We are more advanced in the regional and national. It's a very new initiative. It has 4 months, but we really want to engage the international community, and it would be great to hear more how we can be also engaged with you and the work you're doing. So before building any vision for the future and for the sustainable development of the region, we thought we needed to have a common ground, like a minimum comprehension of the region and what we are talking about. So we built this spiral in 15, divided by 15 axes, considering the complexity of everything there and everything that's going on. And we are in the process of knowledge production internally in the foundation, but also hiring partnerships to put this puzzle together. All the information that has been generated is in a hot site. I will share with you in the chat. We are only sharing with the people that we already presented the Amazon consultation, so feel free after this call to search for documents and after this call to clarify any questions that you may have. And we are also doing a series of webinars that started last week about each axis and each product that is being published by each of the axes here. So basically it's trying to understand the governance and mapping the stakeholders of the region, then building the vision of the armed forces, which for this government is really important, having a vision of the public budget and where this budget is going by state, a historic vision of the public plans and policy, what worked, what didn't work, what we can do better considering our history. The 5 is one of the most important. We are building, we are calling the state of the art. So the vision of the business for the Amazon divided by its sector. So mining, agroforestry, cattle, agriculture, and building that together with entity of the civil society, a very leading big business of the region, and associate of the class involved in the business. This is also in the hot side. The 6 is the vision of civil society and how they are divided by clusters. What are their agenda and how we can promote more synergy between them. 7 is science and technology. 8, the role of philanthropy, Brazilian philanthropy, we are mapping at this point. 9, the view of society and culture there, not only the indigenous peoples, but also the invisibles and the illegals. 10 is a view of development indicators. We are doing a work together with the Consortium of Governors of the Amazon to try to put a platform where we could see the indicators by state and by municipalities, and then compare to see in the municipalities that we have a high increase of deforestation, how is the development of the area. I think we'll have a good product in November. 11, land use and deforestation, and now all the role that map biomas is playing, now with all this questioning of INPE. 12, land tenure and land grabbing. 13 is Pan-Amazonian, how we can relate more to the 8 countries. 14 is media and the role of narratives, how we can work more with communication. And then the role of finance and mainstream finance. So it's really complex. We are just in the beginning, but I really wanted to share what we are doing and see how you can get more involved in this network that is really only in the beginning. It's the final goal is to build a long-term vision for the sustainable development of the region before we conclude this first puzzle. We are calling puzzle because it's really complex. So thank you, Jonah, for the opportunity to share.
Great, thanks so much. If anybody would like to ask a question, please go ahead and blurt it out.
Well, maybe I have a question, Renata. The interrelationship between some of these marvelous, I really like the design, and congratulations. Such complexity put into a snail, actually, caracol. But when you have an interrelationship, for instance, governance and business, there's one field which in the Amazon 4.0 program we think is critical to watch, which is the governance for the bioeconomy and intellectual property rights and all of this. I imagine you have some plans for, of course, then blending these together, right?
Yes, that's the plan, but it's really challenging to understand the governance and the interaction between the federal and state and municipal levels and who are responsible for each part. We are interacting a lot with one of the commissions of the Amazon Council of the Vice President Mourão, that is the Development Commission under the Ministry of Economy. And they just launched the plan of the bioeconomy for the bioeconomy development of the Amazon region. And we were in a conversation with them last week, and they said, so we need to implement this plan. And who is going to implement this plan? So it needs a lot of governance, still unclear of the roles, but we really want to support that. We are only in the beginning of that, but we are putting that as a very high priority of the Amazon consultation to see how we can better support
My question, if I could just add one sentence, doesn't so much relate just to whether it's state or federal level or regional level, but to the technical competencies. Remember a long time ago when environmental impact assessments came up, the assessments sometimes were huge, done by big consulting firms, but the capacity of local environment offices were not such that they could really analyze what they got. So on bioeconomy, I see something like this coming down the line, that you need technically highly sophisticated teams to make sure that things remain in good order. So that was just a footnote.
Renata, feel free to go ahead and respond. And if someone else would like to ask a question, please put your name or say you'd like to ask a question in the chat. Go ahead, Renata, if you wanted to respond.
No, I think that was only a compliment, right, Marita? I totally agree with you. I don't have an answer for that, yes.
Yeah, that's right.
But I agree that, yes.
Yeah.
And they, when we talk to the Ministry of Economy in the context of this bioeconomy plan, that's what they ask, right? They need people, they need good people to implement the plan. So it's really challenging to see that the government, they don't have this team that they need to have to implement them. That, so totally agree. And in the municipalities, that it's much, I imagine it's much more challenging, right?
Go ahead, Maite.
No, I think it's something related to what Marita said. When we were, we created a project to apply for the Norwegian government funds. And it's interesting because for the grassroots organizations like the National Extractive Council and for Unicafes, which is the umbrella organization for family farmers in Brazil, they really dislike the concept of bioeconomy because they think that the concept of bioeconomy completely excludes them from the picture. So I think it's something just really interesting for us to keep in mind as we go. That's why we ended up adopting social biodiversity and all this terminology like that. And at the end, we ended up saying social bioeconomy, just in order to, they really refuse to have the word just bioeconomy in our project. So that was really interesting to see that. So just a comment.
Lars.
Thanks, Renata. I was intrigued by the design of the sort of knowledge, the snail and everything. But could you say something more about the learning exercise? Because you had, I can't remember, phase 1 and phase 2, you had like a yellow and you had a different color, which I interpreted to be like a learning cycle. Could you say something more about how you go about sort of incorporating all these aspects?
That was a really interesting exercise to have, like, we call aproximações sucessivas, like successive approximations. So the first cycle, the yellow one, it was like a more superficial view of each axis. Then we could go faster. And then what we are seeing in the second cycle, when we go more deep, is that first, that in the first cycle, it helped us to unlock a lot of conversations that we wanted to do because we had this material. And then in the second cycle, what we are seeing is that we can go deep, and we are doing a process of peer review that is divided by these 3 institutions, because the essence of the consultation is to promote dialogue, right? We are really open to dialogue and to build convergence. So we are being open as much as possible for having the business and having civil society and having a representative of associação de classe, I don't know how to say, but having them together for this peer review process in this second cycle. It's really, what we are seeing is that it's adding much more value to the process. And it's a never-ending process, right? We didn't wanted to do just one more diagnosis for the Amazon. So we wanted to be a little bit different and to embrace complexity in the process. So I think these cycles helped a lot on that.
Renata, can I paste the link to the Concertação hot site that you gave me?
Yes, I can put this here now in the chat.
She'll post the link. Does Sarah Wanan was asking for the diagram again. Does anyone else have a question for Renata?
May I, Jonah, a very quick question.
Go for
A
it.
couple of people actually have questions in the chat, by the way.
Okay.
It's more a comment. You know, one of the things I think we face as a challenge is how do we explain the complexity of what it takes to deal with so many issues at so many levels. And I think the world almost always wants to respond in a very easy way. You know, when there's a tragedy like either at indigenous peoples level or with fires, we've seen that people want to do something very quick. And I think what you're doing here hopefully starts the conversation about and an understanding for how complex this is. And I'm hoping, Jonah, that with what you're doing with these series, that we manage to start achieving that. This is not an easy thing to understand and respond to. And given that there's so many people here, I think it would be a great thing to collectively work on changing this narrative in terms of what it means to save rainforests, right? Because you cannot save it. So I want to say that and also invite this group. I'm seeing Lars actually smiling, and I hope we're in agreement on this.
Matt Lurie, you had a question as well?
Hey, thanks. Yeah, just for Renata, on your different sector approach, one of those pieces to the pie was the philanthropy, or the philanthropy slice. And I mean, I work in the Milken Institute Center for Strategic Philanthropy, but I'm curious. I assume you're doing, some landscape analysis there and figuring out what some of the, in addition to yourself, what some of the other key foundations and philanthropies and things are. As you're doing that, are you able to find any, are you kind of noting any opportunities or barriers as you're moving along specifically for that slice of the pie?
It's really interesting. We started to do this exercise with other two foundations, Humanize and IX, Instituto Clima e Sociedade. And it's interesting, the first, and together with GIFI, the big association of foundations in Brazil. And the first conclusion was that we are wasting energy a lot. We could do much more together. And we could save time also of our grantees, because we are requesting them like the same thing over and over again. And then that was a very interesting conclusion for this first analysis, because we in this first deep dive, we identified like 3 to 4 grantees that we had in common, and we had no idea. So the grantees were just applying for 4 different foundations and also having meetings, monthly meetings of monitoring with all these 4 different foundations. So we just started to talk with the grantees to see what could be better for them, because some are also afraid of realigning and then they losing investment or reducing investments, right? So we need to be very sensitive about that. But that was a very interesting first conclusion, that we should talk more to see how we can help the grantees to make their life better. But we're just in the beginning of the process. What we also realized is that we, as these 4 initiatives that began the landscape analysis, we really focus in environmental conservation and sustainable development. But we started to talk with other institutions to see how we can promote other agendas, right? It's a complex problem, so we need to look health in the Amazon, education in the Amazon, and we're very far from looking at all these problems together. So it was a good exercise also to see how we can open our minds, like besides not working with this strategy, how we can share more what we're doing and better align in the areas that we fund. So that was a second good conclusion, I think. I don't know if I answered your question, sorry.
He's given a thumbs up. Any more questions for Renata?
Yeah, if I may, hi Renata. Can you talk a little bit more about the Amazonia 4.0 program? I mean, I've heard Carlos Nobody present it, but in particular about how it's structured from a legal perspective. It's a nonprofit entity. It's receiving grants. Just to try and understand a little bit more the business model of that, if you may.
Yeah, it's now receiving grants. It's not yet, and I think Marita can also compliment me for sure.
Yeah, I'm part of it.
Yes, yeah. So maybe you can speak from the project, but for us, it's not still a legal entity, but we are providing grants, and they are in the beginning of the construction of the first laboratory, which will be Cocoa and Cupuaçu, to be implemented in the state of Pará next year, because it had a delay because of COVID. But Marita, if you can complement me.
So the origin is that we have a program at University of São Paulo at the Institute for Advanced Studies. And it's a tiny program which has been there for a number of years. It's called Amazônia em Transformação, História e Perspectivas. And about 2 years ago, Carlos Nobre and Ismael Nobre joined in. I was there already promoting the idea of that we needed a rainforest business school, that it would be very difficult to get sustainable business, standing forest-based business going if we didn't train more people in doing this and doing well at this. So in came Carlos and Ismael with the idea of these creative labs, which are a great idea. They can really take sort of cutting edge research to the field and, you know, thereby enhance in a very practical way certain value chains. We now have the Rainforest Business School launched last year, the formal thing at least, at University of the State of Amazonas. And Amazonia 4.0 has one joint project now also between these two universities. So we got support from Arapiaú, thank you very much, and small support from some other foundations. And now we also are in the run for having academic finance from the state, foundations from FAPESP and FAPIA, respectively, for a joint lab exercise that then ends up in a course at the Rainforest Business School. We are more ambitious beyond that. I won't be long. We need an agency governance for bioeconomy, and we also think that there is a need for a mighty research institution in the Amazon basin, a sort of MIT equivalent in the Amazon basin, to really make sense of what people talk about all the time and put the science behind it. So that's Amazonia 4.0 in a nutshell.
Is there has the location been decided for the first lab, or not yet?
Yes. There's a location, I think, in the state of Pará. Okay. So we could send you the details on this, Derek, if you're interested.
Sure.
There are basically 3 initial labs being planned, 2 already, basically funded. And the third one, which is more on genetics, is still awaiting support.
Great, thank you so much.
Great, thanks everybody. Renata, do you have to go now?
No, I'm staying.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, great. I have a second presentation But before we get into that, I would just like to see, does anyone else have a question for Renata? Feel free to go ahead and say it. I looked through the chat channel. I didn't see any others' names to call on yet. If you were on a cell phone, you had some noise background. *69, I think, brings you off of mute if you're on a cell phone.
I could jump in here, Renata. Nice to see you. Thanks for the presentation. This is Colleen Scanlon-Lyons of the Governor's Climate and Forest Task Force. You mentioned the need for governance, and that was your number one in your very cool snail diagram and complexity. What are the biggest challenges you're finding in working with state level governments? And how could we think about addressing that in the, within the complexity that you're talking about?
Great, nice to see you, Colin. So for us, we are having a conversation with the Executive Secretary of the State Governor's Council. It's been 2 months now. And what is really challenging is that they don't have a team. So to be really honest, like it's the Executive Secretary and it's she alone. And I think you know well also, but it's she alone, and she said that she has the authorization to have this team of 12 people, but the process is delayed. So they have this fund from the state to hire the team, but it's really in the beginning. And what we thought as funders is that we really want to support the governance, the structure for them to implement the 12 priority projects, but they cannot do that without the team. So we are just trying to see if we can push, but push in a good way, like to see how we can help you building your team so we can support the governance, because the team we cannot fund directly. So we're just waiting for them to get more structured to receive more fund. It seems that it's starting to be more organized now, and we may have some good news for the upcoming months. Let's see. But this is the biggest challenge. The challenge is the team of the Executive Secretary.
Got it. Thanks.
Great. I think we might
One
have time for one more
question.
question. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi Renata, this is Alex from GIZ. I'm sure you know the study from Sergio Leitão, A New Economy for the Amazon, based on the free trade zone in Manaus and bioeconomy, which basically follows the idea to create a new purpose for the free trade zone. As we all know today, it's basically used for the construction of electronics equipment. And the idea of this Instituto Escolia study is basically to transform the free zone and the factories who are there, to direct them into a direction to process raw material for bioeconomy. I think he classifies 4 groups: bioeconomy, digital transformation, ecotourism, and fishing culture. And he's looking for an investment of 7 billion reais to create 200,000 jobs. So did you consider this study and the idea to use the Zona Franca in Manaus for a new bioeconomy?
We funded this study, so we are the ones behind that. And Escolha is presented to the Development Commission of the Amazon Council. And that was part of the strategy of this bioeconomy plan that they launched. So Zona Franca de Manaus is part of the plan. And I think they are considering that. So I discussed with Sergio today what would be the next step of this project. So how we could have Instituto Escolhas more as an implementing agency, an implementing institute, because they need team, they need people to implement the plan now. So we are just aligning with them to see what would be the second grant that we could give to that.
Great.
Thanks.
Can I briefly say, we had a seminar, a webinar just a few days ago on Friday, which was organized by the Zona Franca itself, where Sergio gave a very good presentation. I was also on the panel, and I'm only mentioning it because it proved that the Zona Franca is extremely interested in this. And the the task now is to help with the operationalization. So
Great.
just to confirm what you said, Renata.
Great, Marita, if you could find a web link to that and send it over to me or post it in the chat, that would be great, or if anyone else has the link.
Okay.
And please post a link to Instituto Escolhas as well. So I'm going to move on. Alexandre Mansour works with the Be Cool or Be Legal with the Amazon. In Portuguese, the word legal and cool are the same. It's particularly interesting to me for a couple reasons. One, because it gets at the real heart of the land rights struggle, which is about titling and legal documentation of lands. And it's something that has been embraced by the sort of the conservationists and the pro-business community. Alexandre, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jonah.
Oh, I'm just going to interrupt you 1 second. I'm going to post also the link. People have been asking me about what is the strategy for presentation at the UN 75 Global Governance Forum. I'm going to post a link here about our 4-part strategy. If anyone has questions about it, please feel to email me directly. Alexandre, please, the floor is yours. Sorry.
I'll be brief because maybe we can have a chat about it later. Well, I'm the director of an agency called Mundo que Queremos. Mundo que Queremos is focusing on creating innovative solutions to make change happen on the way you want on the environmental field. We use different tools, like we created the first business fair for climate change companies, and we created the first union of former ministers of finance, known as Convergência pelo Brasil, to raise the awareness of the low carbon economy on high level, political economy, and on high level economic policy in Brazil. Well, we launched this campaign, Seja Legal com a Amazônia, a year ago, and it explores an opportunity to change, to reduce deforestation, certain kind of deforestation. You can see deforestation in the Amazon having different drives depending on where it happens. 40% of deforestation in the Amazon happens on public land. The main drive is illegal appropriation of public land, known as land grabbing. This is the low-hanging fruit for those who want to reduce deforestation in the Amazon, because the deforestation caused by land grabbing is something understood on the whole society as not wanted. So you can have an agreement among business sector, among policymakers, that is something that we don't want to continue. So we organized this campaign with the support of the agribusiness associations and industry associations and environmental organizations to raise the concern and raise the pressure over the policy makers and the authorities to fight land grabbing in Brazil. We propose objective measures to go ahead with the fight on land grabbing, like empowering the public prosecution agency here in Brazil, or give more power to the federal police who can investigate the gangs that operate appropriating public land and cutting the forest there. And we have two main objectives. One of them is to to communicate to the population that the vast majority of Amazon land is public owned and the deforestation is byproduct of a process of land grabbing, which means that all citizens are being, they are losing something that belongs to them. And having this, this concept in their minds, they could pressure the authorities to fight this. On the other side, we are raising this debate with the justice and the authorities responsible for enforcing the law, offering to them that it's a good way out, it's a good response to the pressure from the population to enforce the fight against land grabbing. We have done several actions like public campaigns, and we have produced videos supporting the actions against the criminals. We are producing a good material explaining how it happens and who loses with that, how this is related to common crime, to violence in the region, which is the most violent in Brazil. And we are planning a second phase of the campaign, which includes the creation of an index of deforestation on public land and events organized with some special sectors like the justice sector and the productive sector. I don't want if Guilherme would like to add something. Guilherme, do you want to say something, to add something?
Only one thing that I would like to add is that this next phase, we want to turn the website into a kind of a hub of information, you know, so everybody can find information about land grabbing and this deforestation. You can go to this website and find everything you need, you know, to understand it and to know more about it. So that's also about the next phase.
Great. Are you guys done?
Yes.
Okay, great. Does anybody have questions? I have one question. It is particularly challenging to mobilize government money or private sector money to take on campaigns that address legality, illegality. So it seems to be the space for philanthropy. I'm curious, what philanthropic support do you guys have so far? How is your campaign funded to date?
It's a good question. The campaign started funded by Instituto Clima Sociedade, and we had a good response from the private sector, from the organizations, from the associations of agribusiness, because they are being targeted as responsible for illegal deforestation. And they use this campaign as a way to say, no, it's not us. The ones responsible for the destruction are the criminals, not the companies. But they don't want to put their own money on the campaign, in spite of using it, and in spite of using the campaign to clean their faces. They at least so far has not ventured their own money to support the company. Now we have a small support from No Peace Without Justice, and that's all that we have. We have a participation from the leaders from those organizations, this agri-business and company organization. They are voiceful. They are speakers from the campaign. So they dedicate time arguing for the campaign and for the measures that we want to be taken. But specifically money to support the campaign, we don't have from them.
Does anybody else have another question for the Be Legal with the Amazon team?
I would be interested what Greenpeace is thinking to get into the group, because this of course is a very, very taxing issue.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of questions and sort of, I mean, I personally have a lot of concerns about this actually just being a bit of a greenwashing exercise. I mean, some of the members of the GTPS, they are, you know, they're well documented having ties to or having supply chains contaminated with illegalities. There was that recent report from Reporta Brasil that was, you know, connected to the actual transportation of indirect suppliers of JBS with ties to illegal deforestation. So, I mean, I think, you know, that I understand what the theory of change here is, as, you know, it's very critical to, you know, to have some sort of carrot, or to actually, you know, like we do want to split up the, it makes sense that the part of the private sector that doesn't want to be associated with the current agenda is separate. I think that the, you know, I'm curious, my question is like, is this a, how much of these people who are involved with this, are they outspoken about the land grabbing bill, the lei Goriagem, and all the other political attacks? You know, you have are these same associations and the same effort being as vocal about what's happening with FUNAI right now? Like that's my main question. So I think like it does make sense as a theory of change. I just, you know, curiously, is the private sector forces that are part of it, are they as vocal on these other changes that do impact legality and whether or not illegalities are continuing growing?
It's a good question. First, let me clarify. We work in partnership with Greenpeace in several actions. I myself, I'm chairman of the board of Greenpeace in Brazil. And the campaign, we are aware that this campaign goes until a given point, and only until a certain point. The objective is to raise awareness of land grabbing and to explain the process of land grabbing and how this process is responsible for 40% of deforestation, the largest share of deforestation, and how we have tools to fight this and to end this kind of crime. And having done that, having shown that, we expect to raise the pressure to fight this. And in this process, we have the support of those associations of agribusiness and companies. If we go to a phase where we have to point to the criminals themselves and denounce the names of who are associated with that, then we don't have their support. So we use the campaign to go until a certain point, and from this point beyond, we have to use other tools, other campaigns, other efforts. Like we ourselves have created another campaign last year from the beginning of this year to fight another project but this is another story. So we know that we are a piece on the puzzle. We are part of the process. Each one here will play his role in the process.
Great, thank you. Does anybody else have another question? If you're asking, you might be on mute. Feel free to post it. For those of you who are new to these calls, I sent out emails to a number of Nexus members last week, educating them about these calls, inviting them to join. There was a good response. I expect these calls will be more popular moving forward, populated by a number of people in the Nexus community who are relatively new to these issues. I have just now posted a link to an article that I wrote in April and that I've been updating since, that mentions a lot of these groups in English and provides background research, provides links. Does anybody else have any other questions for me or the Be Legal with the Amazon team or the larger UN 75 strategy? I'll just go for it.
Can I add something, Jonah?
Sure.
Still answering Daniel. Last year, we have a movement to end. One of the main forces fighting against land grabbing in Brazil is a task force from the Public Prosecution Agency. And there was a movement, a political movement, wanting to disband this group of persecutors, of public prosecutors. And with our campaign, we were able to mobilize support from the federal executives and from the media and even from the private sector in general, to keep the group working. And we had a victory when they supported the extension of the task force. So this is the kind of victories that we can have, and that can keep the fight on land grabbing going on, even having a political environment that it will be completely hostile to that.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Any more comments or questions? I have one for Hinata. Hinata, what support or access or questions do you have for those who are working at the global or trying to work at the global level on Amazon conservation issues?
Still there?
Gabrielle from the UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration, would you mind introducing yourself real quick and telling this group about the campaign that you guys are doing?
Thanks, Jonah. And good afternoon or good evening to everybody. My name is Gabriel Labate. I am from the UN RED program. We also work on the UN Decade on ecosystem restoration. And in our last call, I presented an initiative. It is still in the early stages. We call it the One Green Gigaton Challenge. And it is about securing enough investments for forest habitat conservation and restoration, not only in the Amazon, but in tropical forests worldwide. This is intended to be a partnership between private sector and public sector. We are in conversations with a number of companies that expressed strong interest in participating. Some of them have already confirmed, and we expect to launch this formally by the UN Environment Assembly in February 2021. Thanks, Jonah. Over to you.
Great. One reason to involve these global actors in what seems like a regional challenge is because as probably all of you know, the Amazon is implicated in being maybe the circle of the global water cycle and probably the highest leverage climate mitigation investment strategy. And it's something you can make money off of, et cetera. On one call that I had with Gabrielle and colleagues, he mentioned that one reason why it's difficult to combat illegal logging in the Amazon is because China buys so much illegal wood. Even if you get the rest of the world to stop buying it and to demand a credentialed certification mechanism for wood, if China still continues to buy it, the problem still persists. So this is a global problem. There are a lot of strategies that I can get into to describe what we want to do at a global level. A lot of it is laid out either in that article that I posted or in the PDF that I posted, which is the larger UN 75 strategy. Many of the people in this call are contributors to this sort of behemoth of ideas. The timeline is going to be some announcements on September 16, 17, and 18. On the 18th, we're going to have a 90-minute session where we present many of the details to the world. Going to be a couple of phone calls later this week dedicated to partnership. So if any of you read that larger UN 75 strategy and are interested in having your name join several others as sort of a coalition of groups pushing forward this agenda, I welcome the opportunity. I'll just sort of line up one particular thing. So Matt works with Milken. Milken has a Center for Strategic and Philanthropy, but also a series of events as one of the world's preeminent investor education platforms. And if they could create a partnership with the UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration, it's good for reforestation for the rest of the world, not just the Amazon. So this is why these global actors are participating in these calls. Does anybody have any clarifying questions or questions for the other presenters? And please don't be so nice that, yeah, I think that someone else is going to ask first. Just put it out there. I'm going to start calling on people. Some of the new Nexus members who are joining us, I'm wondering if you might have particular questions or might like to just share your own personal quest. Miranda, would you like to introduce yourself? You don't have to.
Jonah, while nobody's speaking, here's a question for you. You started this 11th, you said this is 11th week, I think you said. You had an expectation for what you were trying to do and why you were doing this. How has that changed and what are you finding now and learning and what do you want to get out of it if you were thinking in the next 2 months, let's say, or next month and then by the end of the year?
The primary thing I set out to do was learn what are the highest leverage investment strategies. I honestly think that this work of Be Legal with Amazon may be one of the best bets in terms of small investments that can mobilize a lot more resources and a lot of other activities to fall into space. Regularizing the story of land tenure in Brazil can create wealth for so many and can bring organized crime under control. Your question was, what am I hoping for? What has the progress been? Part of it is just learning what are the key opportunities for intervention. Another part of it is I just realized how interconnected the problem is. I'm now taking steps to mobilize Nexus China in service of this challenge that comes from selling illegal wood. Nexus has very significant connections in the area, as does the World Economic Forum and Milken and others who have been involved in these series of phone calls. So the global interconnectedness of it, and also how much fragmentation there is. Probably the most known donor coalitions and regranters on the Amazon are the Biodiversity Funders Group, which is called Funders in the Amazon Basin, which is a relatively non-public group. They don't put out reports. The Climate and Land Use Alliance, which is 6 of the largest Amazon funders. It's mostly dedicated to those who are spending very large amounts of money. And then there are groups in Brazil. Synergos has a program. There's of 6 or 7 philanthropies that is studying ways to work with each other on interventions in the Amazon. It's mostly Brazilian, but there's some foreigners who participate as well. I just realized that many of the actors in the space haven't been talking with each other. There doesn't exist a public-facing global Amazon philanthropy group that wants to build a large membership. So our activism may turn into that. It may be something that brings together industry through impact investors and connects them with philanthropy. So I set out to learn, I see gaps, and this coalition that we're developing may be the vehicle to fill in those gaps.
Hi, Jonah. This is Sarah Wannen, a Nexus member.
Hey.
To add to that, I'm sorry I'm driving, but I did want to know how much Nexus Latin America is involved, because there's sometimes a tendency for all of us over here to think we know what's best, but I certainly know that the 2 speakers are from the region. I'm just wondering how much engagement from the Nexus LatAm group has been involved.
So for those of you who don't know, and I'm realizing now we're a couple of minutes over, so I'll be quick and then we'll end the call. Nexus Latin America has had 4 summits, and there's a 5th one coming up in a couple of months. And there's going to be a lot of activity on the Amazon. And I have been having phone calls and communication with that team and have been recommending speakers to them. So the 2 are integrated. The strategy of one informs the other. It is true that I've been leading this and I'm a North American guy. And there is some question about if we're making such important decisions, how are we going to be representative? And that's something that I haven't dealt with yet. I should deal with that if all of this activity and noise making leads to the creation of a new institution. So good questions, and there's some unansweredness and unanswerable so far.
Thank you. Well, but we all need bridges.
We do. Agreed. Okay, everybody. There's a lot here. Thanks so much for your time. I'm going to go ahead and leave the room and the chat room open for a while in case people want to copy those links. Thank you so much for joining us, and you'll be hearing from me through email and follow-up. And if anybody is new to the call and hasn't been in direct contact with me, please feel free to give me your email address so that I can include you in future call invitations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, Jonah.